Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I had bad experiences. Yes, this was either within my control or beyond my control, but I'm going to make the best out of the situation. When you have this mentality, you're not going to ever give up on yourself. Peace and welcome, everyone. My name is Habibah, and I'm going to be talking about the principles that the people with the best self love have mastered. The total of seven, and I'm going to be talking about four in this particular episode. And episode four of my podcast will talk about the next three. So I wanted to first of all mention that the reason why I'm making this video is because I've noticed that a lot of people, whenever they're talking about self-love, tend to talk about the external part of it. For example, going on dates where people can see you going on dates. They tend to show you hair care day, skin care day, and all of these things, which is good. And many people struggle to keep up with those videos because they're unrealistic. Because all the person is showing you is the result of where they've gotten to have this consistency. But no one talks about the inner part of you working hard on yourself and working on your self-love. In order for you to be able to blossom and show that you are working on your self-love journey and to be content within yourself, you need to work on a mindset shift, and you need to work within yourself, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you need to be able to know within yourself and have principles where in your mind, your mindset is this. So if you hit like a roadblock, you just know, oh yeah, this principle would work here because I'm practicing this principle, because within myself, I know it is possible. So the first principle is the fact that self-love is a lifelong lifestyle. What this means is that self love has no destination. For anyone who is trying to improve themselves and living by this principle, you're going to have to tell yourself that this is going to be for life. I'm going to do this for life. I am not stopping when I feel like I'm good enough. I'm not going to pick on days to practice self love and off days to not practice self love. And I know that this could be quite complicated because life is like, you never know the curveball that's gonna be thrown at you. You never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. But when you practice this principle, it teaches you to have a baseline. Meaning, no matter whatever is going on in my life, I am going to do certain self-love practices. Meaning, if every single day I practice self-love for myself by cooking, right? By cooking myself a really nice meal. Maybe the day that I am stressed out, I'm going to cook myself a simpler meal rather than maybe something over the top. But I'm always going to cook myself a meal. Or, for example, being a Muslim, some Muslims pray more prayers than necessary because we have 5 daily prayers. So when you decide to start praying sunnah prayers, and maybe you're having a bad day or you're struggling today and you just can't get yourself to do it, maybe you practice doing 8 rakah of sunnah out of the 12. Maybe on the day you're really stressed out and you're not feeling yourself, in order for you to practice self-love and make that a habit, maybe that day you're going to do 2 or 4 rakahs and just do two, but you're going to know that you have a baseline. Meaning, even though I'm tired, I'm still gonna cook dinner for myself. Even though I had a bad day, I'm still gonna cook dinner for myself. The only thing is, I'm not gonna go over the top. I'm gonna make it simple because today is just really difficult for me. Or maybe you tend to pray all of the days and then you're really exhausted, maybe from a trip, and instead of praying all of the sunnah prayers or the usual that you do, rather than say I'm not going to pray any sunnah prayers at all because I'm exhausted, why don't you just pray two? That's what I'm trying to say. Self-love requires consistency, requires building a routine, putting it on your calendar. Whatever practice is easy for you to do, it is something that you strive to do within your self-love journey. So it's like air, meaning it is necessary for your everyday life. It is not an on day and off day type of thing. So this would teach you, for example, that you are not perfect. Meaning, on the days that things are difficult, I still put in the effort, but I already know that I'm not perfect. But since this is a lifelong journey, you're gonna understand that there are gonna be other days where I can improve myself and I can do better. So this principle will help you know that since this is a journey, since this is, I always have the chance to improve. rather than a destination where you try to be a perfectionist because you know it's going to end one day. But if it's a lifelong process, the days you make the mistake, you don't beat yourself because you're looking forward to the days that you improve, and you're looking forward to the days where you do tasks or things much more effectively. So, yeah, you end up being able to manage your mistakes, you end up being able to improve yourself, you end up being able to love yourself, and you end up being content with the fact that discipline, consistency is required because this is how you've chosen to live your life now. So that's the first principle. The second principle is the fact that mistakes happen and failures don't end a person. So I'm looking down here because I've got it on my phone and I don't want anyone to be distracted. So suppose you know of a lady who went to school, met a guy, ended up sleeping with him, having a baby, and maybe she's 16. So you end up with a pregnant teen who ends up with a baby and can graduate at the same time as her peers. And you're thinking, oh wow, she just messed up her life. But for someone who is growing and who has hope in God and who has hope in a better future and who is practicing self love, you're gonna say, well, this is a setback. This is a reality check. I made a mistake. And this failure shouldn't end me. So, what if the same girl, or what if there are two girls? One of them decides to beat herself up and is sad, who is depressed. I have a baby, I can't take care of this baby. The guy is not, the father is not in the baby's life. And then you have the other person who decides, well, that means I'm going to end up being a mom, meaning I am going to take care of the baby. I am going to get more my education. I'm going to graduate from high school. If it's going to take me a year later, I'm going to get my GED or I'm going to get my high school diploma. I am going to work really hard. I'm going to earn better, higher degrees, a bachelor's, master's, PhD. I am going to improve in my career. I'm going to become financially stable. And I'm going to do all of this while being a mom. This teaches you that this person is practicing self love and you're living on the internal principle that, yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I had bad experiences. Yes, this was either within my control or beyond my control, but I'm going to make the best out of the situation. When you have this mentality, you're not going to ever give up on yourself or think it is some that a bad situation or something beyond your control affects you. Now, I've talked about this girl, and I'm sure some of you might even know someone with a similar story. Let me talk about my own personal experience. While I was in university, the the semester before graduating, I had a really difficult time. Difficult semester with a particular class, difficult semester with other classes, and this particular class had a very difficult professor. So it became extra, extra difficult for me. And just the way the classes were set up, it wasn't necessarily my best. But the thing is, I was always used to winning. I was always used to like doing well in classes. Even when I struggled, I always got a B. And now I'm in a situation where this class is extremely difficult. And when I was trying to fix the situation, unfortunately, ended up being worse. So things beyond my control made it even worse. And I take responsibility for some of the like struggles within the class. Now, fast forward, I ended up having to have an extra year. This is coming from someone who never had a C all through the first 6, 7 semesters of university. Well, I had other classmates that left from the first semester, they're already with C's and C's and C's. So it was like a big shock to me. And I began thinking about like, oh my gosh, how am I going to apply for graduate school? How am I going to explain to the people that, especially when you're in STEM, like I was a chemistry major, I ended up graduating with chemistry degree and a math minor. It was very difficult because I'm thinking, how do I explain to the people who are going to take me to get a master's or a PhD that I did not do well after I've had this history of really doing well in school? And I thank God now that I'm thinking about it, because this was like 6 years ago. I'm thinking about it now and I'm thankful because of this experience and the extra 1 year delay, even though I experienced a lot of shame, a lot of anxiety, a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I thought you graduated," and all of that, especially for a student like me, it was extra painful because there's a difference between when you're used to failures and then it hits you and you're like, it happens, in comparison to when you're not used to it and then it happens. That's like double, like you don't even know where it came from because especially when you're not expecting it. So I, with the shame, with the pain, with almost feeling like my like dreams just died, I started to think about my life much more wholly. Meaning, I wasn't thinking myself as like a future student. I was thinking about myself as a future person, a future Muslim, a future wife, a future mom. I was thinking of my life fully. Like, what impact will I have? What is my purpose? And I started to realize that there's a lot of growth that came out of the situation because my life was not like linear. Now it had like wobbly experiences, and I now know how to manage certain situations that are difficult out of this experience in comparison to not knowing it, and then and then in future when it is a more sensitive issue for it to be worse. And I realized I'm not the only one. Some people graduate at university for more than 4 years. And the good thing about all of this, I was still able to graduate with honors. I was still able to, not the high honors I was on the path for, but I was still able to graduate with honors, being a chemistry major and a math minor. That was, now I think about it, is actually impressive regardless of whether I graduate with honors or not, because that's a lot of school. So, one thing I learned was that, another thing I learned was that it didn't end me. I'm still here. It taught me to have more diverse experiences. It taught me that rock bottom is really great because if you imagine yourself lying on the floor and you're looking up, you see more of the entire world or the clouds, the stars, and everything from that perspective, meaning you're gonna think of your life, okay, I can go this direction, I can go that direction, or I can do this direction, because you're gonna meet, because you have a different perspective. But if you're always working on success and your focus is very strong, you would do great, but you only do great in one aspect of your life. Now, this tied into self love because now I do not believe that I'm not going to be able to achieve the things I wanted to achieve in the past. In fact, I have achieved some of the things I didn't expect to achieve. I ended up getting a job and worked as a chemist. I have had diverse perspective. I've been able to do things independent of people, and I've been able to go far with support, of course, of really kind people like best friends, my dad, and things like that. But that experience taught me a lot. So the point is grow, 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 and whatever mistakes happen that you were not expecting, understand that you will still go far. It just means you're having a temporary setback. So yeah, that's very important for you to do. You would have a mentality of resilience, you have a mentality of faith, you have a mentality of strong belief, you have a mentality of growth, meaning you're willing to unlearn things, you're willing to learn new things, and you're willing to relearn things you already thought you were at doing. So things like that is what would come out as a result of adversity, and will teach you to love yourself more because you respect yourself more because you've grown. That's the whole point. So now we're going to move on to the third principle, which says self awareness and humble actions are key. So, just listening to what I just said, you'd realize that this particular principle has two parts to it. And the first part of it is the self awareness. In order for you to live your life loving yourself, you have to have self awareness. Unfortunately, in this modern era, you see videos of going viral of people who actually believe that they're good people and they're upstanding citizens of maybe a particular society or even a particular country, but they don't have any self awareness. They are problematic people who don't have any self awareness. So, the point I'm trying to make is that when you are on your self love journey, there is a need for you to be more self aware. Now, For you, whenever you're self aware, that's not enough. You still need to be able to practice that self awareness. Like it's like a muscle. Like, okay, I'm aware of this now, then how do I need to act to improve myself? Or what characteristics do I have as a result of my self awareness knowledge now that I need to stop? So basically, what practices do I need to continue because I'm self aware that they are good practices? And what practice do I need to stop because now I'm aware that they're not good practices? Like, that's basically what I'm trying to say. So, in order for you to be able to um, take that understanding and like live with it and just practice it, you need to be very humble. Hence why I said humble actions are key. So that's like the two paths to both of it. Now, it's very important when you are on this self-love journey to know yourself. So you need to know yourself when you're alone, and you need to know yourself in social settings. Meaning, when you're alone, I'm not talking about just being alone scrolling on your phone, but when happy by myself, when I'm alone, how am I productive? How do I benefit myself? What practices do I tend to do? What are the things that make me feel joy? What are the things that are my hobbies? What are the things that I avoid and hate to do? What are the things that I need to overcome? Like this, how is my relationship with God? How was my day today? How do I reflect? How am I consistent? All of these things are very, very important for you to know, and you can improve your life by being one of those people who takes their alone time seriously and actually looks forward to it. And I talk about this particular thing in my previous video, episode 2. And I talk about alone time, the impact lack of alone time has on society, the reason why we are very lonely. I talk about the benefits of alone time as well as golden practices to have in order for you to have beneficial, productive, and successful um, alone time and to have a success basically because you're putting in the investment on having a good alone time. So make sure you watch that video. I also wanted to mention a lot of people also struggle with social settings because they struggle with how they should act in when they are with other people. They struggle with confidence and they don't know how to be confident with other people or around other people. So for example, you when you're in your settings with other people, your confidence is going to be something that would show. Your lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, your flaws will show, your strengths will show. These are things that are just so natural because you're a human being. You have to be self-aware enough that, say there's a particular person in a particular friend group that you're part of that you don't like, or that your personalities do clash, you are supposed to be self-aware and know yourself well enough that there are certain things about this person that will make me act a certain kind of way. So I have to try my possible best to behave properly and to be able to avoid being in a situation that would affect um like that would cause a problem. Like that is an example of self-awareness. You know yourself, you know you and this person don't click. Now how do we move forward? And that's where humble actions come. Maybe if you're the one with the problem, then you know you have to apologize, you have to adjust, you have to be more tolerant. And if the person is with the one with the problem, you know you have to be tolerant, you have to be very careful, and in situations where it's necessarily, you have to stay away from them. So that is what I mean by self-aware, and it ties into self-love because you know yourself and you're aware of yourself. You know how to act and improve yourself accordingly. Now I wanted to mention that a lot of us don't actually um, have the best self-awareness, but there's no problem because this is like a modern era. There are so many like solutions to a lot of things. Like there's so many tests online. Like I'm gonna read a couple of them for you. For example, we've got the MBTI test. This is the test where it measures like four categories of things. It measures whether you are an introvert or an extrovert. It measures whether you are more organized or more go with the flow. It measures whether you are more attention to detail type of person, or you are the type of person who looks at the big picture. And then fourthly, the fourth category measures whether you tend to be a feeling person or tend to be a thinking person, meaning do you tend to analyze, do you tend to solve problems in comparison to the other person, where do you tend to feel, do you tend to connect. So that's just an MBTI. An example of these things would be like, someone saying they're an ESTP, ENFJ, ISFP, stuff like that is basically what I'm talking about. So there are five love languages. There's forgiveness style test, attachment style, whether you're secure attachment, fearful avoidant attachment, dismissive avoidant, anxious attachments. Like you have like a lot of this, and you also have like the big five personality tests. Like these are things you need to know, not just because of you want to know yourself, and also be able to communicate with people that are in your life, people that are trusted, people that you want to keep in your life. You need to be able to know yourself well enough to be able to communicate that. And then lastly, I wanted to mention that humble actions also come in situations of criticism, right? If you are being criticized and it's constructive criticism that you're being given, when you're self-aware, this person said a whole bunch of stuff, or this person said this about me and explained it to me, that this is what they've observed. You take what is true and you ignore what is not true. And in order for you to be able to do that, you have to know yourself. Meaning, if they're telling you about something maybe five other people who don't know themselves have told you about, that's a problem. Meaning, it's something that you have to fix. But if they tell you something that is completely false, maybe you've never heard it from anyone, maybe they're exaggerating a situation that never happened. If you're someone who's working on your self-love and you're self-aware of yourself, you're not going to take you seriously because you know that that is not you. So you get the best and listen and get the best information out of all that has been given to you, and you proceed with that. So that's an example of how you practice self-love as someone who is self-aware and as someone who is working on being more humble. This does not mean you're below anybody. This does not mean you are to be disrespected or anything like that. You need to be able to stand up for yourself in a situation where it's getting to that point. That is not the point. The point is for you to grow, to develop through self-awareness, and also taking actions that would require some level of humility in order for you to reach a point where you are successful and you are living a lifestyle of self-love. Now, the fourth principle we're going to talk about is the importance of valuing each moment. Now, a lot of people who are religious and a lot of people who reflect do this already, where you live your life valuing each moment. You live your life valuing things in comparison to maybe someone else who doesn't. And you practice self-love this way because you understand that each moment is trying to teach you something. For example, you're on the highway, you're just driving maybe to go home or going to work, and then you see someone to your right just speeding through, and maybe they have road rage and they maybe insulted you or something like that. Naturally, the normal human reaction would be to fight, to want to defend yourself, to want to do. But if you are thinking about your life and you value each moment, there's a level of patience that is required actually to be able to value each moment. Like I needed to mention that earlier, but I'm mentioning it now. For example, you need to think, okay, what is this moment trying to teach me? But to know what this moment is trying to teach you, you need to be able to take a step back. Hence the reason why you need to be patient. So when you deal with someone like that, rather than just reacting, you can think, well, this moment might be trying to teach me this. How am I supposed to respond rather than how am I supposed to react? Maybe you're supposed to be tougher in the situation, but you need patience to make you think so you know that you're making the right decision to be tougher. That's how you value a moment. That's how you know that this moment is trying to teach you something. You're trying to extract the best response to a particular situation that arises. So for example, you are always asking yourself, what is the moment trying to teach you? What can I learn from this current experience? What has this day taught me? What has this experience taught me? What has this week taught me? This month taught me? This valuing each moment will push you towards a lot of self-reflection because you're always thinking, how can I better this? How can I better that? How should this be? How should that be? So this is very, very important, because like it's very important for you to push through, honestly, because some moments are more difficult than others. So it's not like you're going to be perfect every single time thinking, what is this moment trying to teach me? That is not realistic. There are going to be times where you're just going to snap and you're not going to think, and then you're going to come back later and think, dang, why did I react that way? I should have been more patient, but it's all part of growth, anyways. So, when you're practicing this moment of self reflection and you're valuing each moment and you're thinking deeply, you start to be more grateful about the things you're supposed to be grateful for. You start to be more firm with your boundaries if necessary. You have to be more patient if patience is what is required. You have to be more given if that is what is required. You have to do what is necessary from your lessons from each moment, because you valued the experiences during that particular moment. So this one will also teach you to be able to avoid unnecessary drama, unnecessary complaints. You start to value how you spend your time, what you choose to respond to, and what you choose to ignore. It will teach you also to strive towards improve. And naturally, the byproduct of valuing each moment and being patient to respond, honestly, the byproduct is growth, as well as increased love of yourself, because you can trust yourself to handle things now in a better way than maybe your old self would have. And also, the last thing is that you learn to be at peace, and that I can say personally works. You learn to be at peace with, okay, God wants this to happen this way, and this is beyond my control. And you don't hate yourself for the inability to control things. You're just at peace with yourself, and you're at peace with destiny, and whatever is within your power to improve, you improve, and whatever is beyond your control, you do not fight it, and you live and you walk with a confidence that is absolutely good and necessary. So this is the end of this video. Thank you for listening. This is for the principles I'm talking about, but I want you guys to be aware that there are three more principles I want to talk about. So make sure you watch the next video, because I'm going to be talking about a higher level approach to principles. So make sure you like this video, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you don't miss episode 4, which is going to be about more principles on self-love. So make sure you watch that video too. Take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for listening.